Okay, we've got Tom and Aiden having a roll after class. Right now, they're both in combat base, and now they're both trying to establish grips. Now, Aiden is a little bit more striking grips. Tom gets that grip, grabs the leg, and drives forward. Okay, let's go back into that. So you see that Aiden is really more sort of slapping and threatening the grips, while Tom is calm and collectively waiting to grab grips. So at this point here, he gets that cross-collar grip, he switches to the leg, drives forward, which knocks Aiden off base, and he's able to step over into side control. Okay, so we've got Tom on top in side control, Aiden on the bottom. Aiden is taking a frame against his neck and his hips, but he didn't stop that knee from passing through. So Tom brings the knee across his belly, steps over for full mount. Let's break that down. So Tom is doing a really good job of keeping pressure with his shoulder into Aiden's neck. Now, Aiden's getting the frames, but his right knee should be pinned to Tom's hip so that this space is not available for him to step through. Now, Tom gets halfway through. He should be driving that knee all the way to the opposite side of the ground, which will make it easier to step over. He does step over, but as you see, he clips Aiden's leg as he steps. And if Aiden had been ready, he could have wrapped that up and ended up in half guard. Okay, so Tom is on mount position. He's looking to wrap up that head and he's looking to isolate that arm. Aiden's got a underhook and is grabbing the back of his gi, which is not the greatest grip, and he's forced to abandon it and go into that cross grip to protect his neck and his arms at the same time, which then Tom wraps his neck up and starts isolating the arm. So if we look at this in more detail, the grip that Aiden has on the back of Tom's gi is trying to control his posture and to keep his hips on his hips, so stop him from riding up into that higher mount. Now, this isn't the greatest grip to do that, so I would have put both hands on the hips in front and pushed him down. Because he lost that grip, Aiden goes straight into a defensive position, gives Tom some time to work out what to do next. He starts attacking that arm, which then turns Aiden onto his side, which allows Tom to wrap up his head and then grab the hand in that gift wrap position, which now Aiden's kind of stuck in this defensive position where he can't really let go of this and he can't move to a new position. Tom's still attacking from mount position. Aiden's got a lot of confidence in this cross grip on his lapel, which is helping him protect his arms and his neck at the same time. However, Tom's just waiting for an opportunity. He turns him onto his side. Aiden decides to roll onto his knees, but Tom kept his weight off and rolled into back control. So if we look at this again, what happens at this point is Aiden's very strong and very confident with his defense at this position. Now, he's looking at trying to predict what grips Tom's going to make and trying to sort of counteract them, but at this point you have to move your body. You have to stop that defensive position because you're just giving Tom time enough to think about it. As he turns over, Tom has one hook in and he just starts to sit back to take that back control with one hook in. Okay, so Tom is getting the underhook on the far side to really secure Aiden to be able to roll him onto his side to take his back fully. Now, Aiden is giving him, he's kind of hugging himself still, which makes it easier to roll him over with more of a hug. At this point, Tom shrimps his bum away. He's got one hook in, he now has two hooks in, and now he's in a position to attack. So at this point, Aiden is still hugging his lapel, trying to keep his neck and arms really together, which is going to make it easy to flip him over. It would have been a lot easier if to defend if Aiden was in full turtle with his elbows down to the ground, which makes him more stable. But because of this, Tom doesn't really have to secure the grips too much because he's upper body. He just hugs, flips him over. At this point, Tom's right leg is on the ground. Aiden should be hopping his bum right over that to escape. However, there was a bit of a delay. Tom was able to shrimp, which then secured the second hook. So now Aiden doesn't have the position to jump to either side, and now he's in a position of being attacked. Okay, so Tom has lost control of one of those hooks. He tries to step over into mount, but Aiden drives him down and rolls him onto his guard. So now Aiden is in Tom's guard. So if we break this down, you can see that Tom lost control of that hook, immediately decides to step over to get into the mounted position. But Aiden, sensing this, uses his left elbow to drive Tom down to the ground while rolling onto his knees into this into Tom's guard. Now Tom immediately is grabbing a cross-collar grip onto Aiden's lapel to pull him down to break his posture. But at this point, I believe they're just trying to work out what they can do next. So Tom's still controlling Aiden, and he reaches under, grabs that leg, flips it over the ground, uses the momentum to swing his legs, knocks him off balance for the pendulum sweep, and ends up in mount. So you can see here, Tom is controlling Aiden's arm. He's controlling his posture with that lapel grip. Now, Aiden really needs to focus on getting posture at this point because he's sort of leaning over Tom. Tom uses this as an advantage to grab the leg, flip that leg around, and then he's able to throw him with the pendulum sweep and ends up in mount position. Very well timed and very well executed. So we've got Tom in mount position. Aiden's taking that cross-collar defensive grip again, which Tom is now using it to wrap up Aiden's head to keep his body controlled. Aiden is trying to thrust his hips up to get him off balance, maybe even get onto his knees again, which he might feel like he's got a better chance of escaping. But without the use of your arms, because you're stuck in that position, it's very difficult to transition out of this. So what happened with this is, you can see that Tom's using his left arm to control Aiden's head, which is going to reduce any power Aiden has from thrusting his hips up. He starts to test that arm. Those arms are stuck in position, so Tom can take his time to work out, okay, how do I break these arms? How do I get them into a weakened state? So Aiden is sensing this. He starts to thrust his hips up and an attempt to sort of roll onto his side, which would then result in Tom getting your back again, but at least you might have a better chance of escaping. But Tom, knowing this, he's gone straight into S-mount, where he's got him on the side with one foot planted and his other leg wrapping against his back. This is in a position where he's now going to be setting up for an armbar. So you can see, even that defensive grip that Aiden has, Tom has found a gap underneath to start isolating Aiden's right arm. Right, with that right arm isolated, Tom is able to roll back, kick his leg over, getting into that armbar position. Now, Aiden's taking this very strong defensive position on his arm, but because his arms are still stuck in this, Tom just has to take his time. He knows that he can take his time to sort of break the grip. It gets a bit slippy, and then boom, there's the armbar. So you can see here, Tom moves his weight across to his right so that his left leg can flip over and cover Aiden's head. Now, at this point, Aiden's taken a very strong defensive grip, and unfortunately, he's got the curse of this being effective against some of the people he's rolled with, where it's very difficult to break his grips. He's got very strong arms in this situation. However, when you're just holding your strength into one position, that person is then going to work out, how do I break this? So as you see, Tom, as he's rolling, that arm starts slipping onto the wrist, slips, and then he straightens the arm, straightens it out for the armbar. Okay, both go to actually establish good grips on each other. However, Tom's got control of the lapel, grabs the leg again, starts walking around. Aiden does a good job of bringing his knees up into that half crunch position to start spinning around, but Tom is able to wrestle into that side control. So you can see, Tom is looking with his right hand to control that cross grip. Again, that left hand is just there, lets go of the sleeve, grabs that leg, pulls it, stops stepping through. Aiden does a good job of keeping that right knee in and starts spinning around with him. However, couldn't quite stop the angle that Tom was coming from. And while his knees are up, it was just a matter of time before he collapses into side control again. So Tom has the side control on Aiden. He's able to bring that knee up and across his hip. Again, if this is the knee ride position. Now he's just trying to get Aiden's left arm up to create some space for his leg. But instead, he just flicks his legs over, takes mount, and hips down. So right now, Aiden's got a control on the back of Tom's gi, but he's stopping him from being able to get his frames in to get a good defense from side control. Again, there was not really anything to block Tom's knee coming across for that knee ride position. And while he is trying to bridge his hips up, it's not going to stop him. Tom could be quite patient. Right now, he's just going to flip that leg over. At that point, Aiden could have brought his legs up to wrap the leg in for for half guard. However, he can't see it, so he would have just had to feel for it. So right now, Tom is in mount. Okay, so from the mount position, Aiden on the bottom, he's still got that underhook and grabbing the back of Tom's gi on the collar, which isn't the most effective grip. Now, look at Aiden's hand. He's tried to bring his hand, his arm in front of Tom's head, which is actually setting him up for an arm triangle. And Tom, sensing this, starts to set up the grips. He tries to step his leg over. However, you can see his leg got stuck in half guard, which then Aiden starts to capitalize and start to move from. Let's go back and see that. So right now, Aiden's right arm is grabbing the back of the gi, which is not the most effective grip. But his left arm, you see, he's trying to put it in front of Tom's face to push him away. Unfortunately, that is setting him up for an arm triangle, and Tom's immediately sensing that. So now he just needs to drive his arm across his face, basically, with his head. Now, Tom is looking to transition from mount into side control to capitalize on this. However, as he steps forward, he steps into half guard, which then he tries to free up. Well, obviously, Aiden's pinching his leg, which, now he's in a stuck situation. So Aiden tries to roll onto his side, but with that grip, Tom is able to pull him back into a sort of side control, S-mount type situation, into a back control. Okay, so Tom is in that similar situation before where he's got back control with one hook in. He needs to get that other hook in. Now, Aiden is doing a good job of keeping compact. However, Tom is able just to grab him and pull him over to the side, which then opened up some space for him to get that second hook in. So we're looking in detail here. So Tom is keeping very tight, so both legs really sort of squeezing in on Aiden. And what he's looking to do is he's actually just going to control both sides of his arms to really, Tom's just going to throw himself to the side and pull him on top of him. He steps, he pulls, Aiden starts to roll, and then he looks to grab that one hook in. The second hook is slightly denied. However, as he pulls him over and Aiden's hips open, that second hook is established for back control. Okay, so with Tom on Aiden's back, Aiden is doing a good job of defending the choke. Tom is reaching for the legs because he's looking to test a bow and arrow choke. Aiden senses this, and he's going to try to roll onto his side, roll onto his knees. So from here, Aiden is testing his legs to see if he can strip one of those hooks using just his legs, but keeping his hands up near his neck, because that's where the danger is. He's looking to stop Tom from getting a deeper grip on his neck. And while Tom is reaching for the trousers, he's looking to see if he can set up the bow and arrow, which he potentially could if he gets enough torque on his body. However, the way that he straightens his body out, he's too much on his side. So Aiden uses this as an opportunity to roll forward to get onto both knees. So we're in that similar situation where Tom is on Aiden's back with one hook in. He's looking to hug him and roll him to his side. As he pushes off and rolls, Aiden, already been through this, already knows that that hook is going to be coming. So we look at this and we see what Aiden does. So Tom is going for that same hug. He just needs to control that upper body. He's got one hook in. He's going to push off the other leg, roll him to the side, and hopefully get the second hook in. Now, as he rolls this, Aiden, sensing this, brings his left knee up and is blocking that hook in to stop, which without the hook allows him to roll back onto his knees, defending. So as we end this roll, both of these guys stay behind after class to have an additional roll and help me record this video. So thank you both very much. It was an excellent effort.